Welcome to This Explainer. Right now, we are watching one of the absolute most fascinating corporate battlegrounds anywhere in the world. We're talking about India's carbonated soft drink market. And listen, this isn't just some story about sugary drinks. Oh no, it's an absolute masterclass in market dynamics, brand nostalgia, and, quite frankly, a really ruthless corporate plot twist. Okay, let's dive right into this. Just to give you an idea of the sheer scale we're dealing with, by 2027, the Indian carbonated soft drinks market is projected to hit a staggering $49.34 billion. Back in 2022, it was sitting at roughly $18.25 billion. So if you do the math, we're looking at a massive, aggressive, compound annual growth rate of 22%. It's literally a gold rush in a bottle, and it's being driven super heavily by this huge surge in consumption across semi-urban and rural areas. But, and this is a huge but, capturing a piece of that multi-billion-dollar pie, it's incredibly tough. Why? Extreme price sensitivity. Get this, a full 70% of all soft drink sales in India happen at a price point of just 20 rupees or below. Let that sink in for a second. You can't just casually stroll in with a premium, expensive product and expect to win. No way. In this arena, your survival is entirely dictated by sheer volume and hyper-aggressive affordability. Part 1. The First Cola Warns. So, let's wind the clock back a bit. The whole landscape actually shifted dramatically back in 1977. That was when Coca-Cola suddenly exited India. And that massive vacuum, it created an unbelievable opportunity for local heroes to step up. You had Thumbs Up, which was owned by Parle, becoming this huge force in the 80s, right alongside another rising star called Coca-Cola. But, the peace definitely didn't last. Pepsi made its grand entry in 1989, and then Coke made a triumphant return in 1993, which just completely reignited this fierce global war right on Indian soil. Coke quickly snapped up Thumbs Up, and sadly, by 2012, independent local players like Coca-Cola, they were entirely wiped out. But look, before it disappeared, Coca-Cola really was something special. It was originally launched in 1977 by the Pure Drinks Group to capitalize on Coke's exit, and it didn't just sell you a cold beverage, it sold a feeling. Their iconic punchline, "The Great Indian Taste," completely captured the nation's attention and basically ruled the 1970s. It was a brand that was just so deeply woven into the cultural fabric of the country right up until it finally succumbed to the overwhelming pressure and those massive marketing budgets of the foreign giants. Part 2. The dominant duopoly. Now, what's really interesting about this consolidation is how heavily this landscape is controlled today. Following those early wars, the market basically settled into this incredibly tight duopoly that jointly holds around 90% of the entire space. Coca-Cola is sitting very comfortably on the throne, commanding a massive 60% share through this powerhouse portfolio of brands. Think Thumbs Up, Sprite, Fanta. Pepsi remains the second major force with about 27%. And the remaining 13%, well, that's left to key local players like Parle Agro and Dabur. It looks like a totally impenetrable fortress, right? But defending it is actually getting harder by the minute. If we look at the modern market realities, it is basically a constant corporate tug-of-war. On one side of the rope, you have growth accelerating. You've got that expanding semi-urban and rural consumption, exciting new flavor launches, and the absolute explosion of quick commerce. Getting cold drinks delivered to your door in like 10 minutes. But on the flip side, man, the sector is weighed down by severe hurdles. High taxation, this relentless regulatory pressure to reduce sugar content, combine all that with a fiercely price-sensitive consumer base, and these companies' margins are just constantly under threat.
Part 3. Rise of the Phoenix.
Okay, remember Coca-Cola? The beloved local brand that was completely wiped out by 2012? Well, plot twist. In 2022, Reliance Retail, which, by the way, is India's absolute largest conglomerate, swooped in and acquired the dead Campa brand. They relaunched it a year later in 2023, and they didn't just bring the name back. They systematically revived all that powerful nostalgia of the Great Indian Taste. But here's the real kicker. They paired those warm, fuzzy memories with a totally ruthless, hyper-aggressive pricing strategy that just shocked the system. And this brilliantly illustrates the immediate dent Campa's resurgence has caused. Post-relaunch, in 2024, Campa actually managed to snatch a 2% slice of the market. But wait, by 2025, projections have that share rocketing up to 7%. That kind of massive leap in such a heavily entrenched, duopoly-controlled market, it's practically unheard of. Campa is literally stealing market share right out from under them, forcing the cumulative dominance of Coke and Pepsi into a very real decline. Make no mistake, the old kings are officially under attack.
Part 4. The Strategic Battlefield. So I want you to put yourself in the hot seat right now. Imagine you are Coca-Cola's India chief. You're sitting in the executive war room, and the market is literally shrinking under your feet because of Reliance's aggressive moves. So, how do you protect your turf? What actionable, concrete strategies can you deploy to recapture your lost share? Do you lean even harder into your existing portfolio? Or do you take the massive risk of launching an entirely new product specifically designed to tackle the Campit threat head-on?
Or, hey, maybe you take a page straight out of the 1993 playbook. Let's say your board decides the single best move is to just acquire Campa all over again. But here is the ultimate challenge. Campa is now owned by Reliance. They are an unstoppable market force in their own right. How do you even begin to negotiate with a giant like that to sell? How much capital are you realistically willing to spend, and how on earth do you fund it? I want you to really think about those moves carefully, because the next chapter of these cola wars, it is being written right now. And the entire multi-billion-dollar market is watching, just waiting to see exactly who strikes next.